Warhammer 40k Darktide has now been out for a few weeks, and what with some minor controversies surrounding it as well as just aggro from the overall player base, I'd like to talk a little bit about the game and my time spent in it. I have over 100 hours at this point, and even though I do have problems with the game, overall I'm still enjoying it. So just to begin, Darktide is a first-person shooter and also a hack and slash game that currently has 4 classes available. You can be the Ogre and Skullbreaker, who is basically Shrek, although not green, but still doesn't want you anywhere near swamp. You have the God Emperor fearing, God Emperor loving veteran sharpshooter, who is the on-the-ground infantryman who is just there with a heart of gold and he has his eyes on you. You have the Zealot Preacher, who is basically the Pope, filled up with steroids, wee bit of cocaine, and likes to get his hands dirty with taking out heretics, xenos, and everything bad that doesn't agree with his ideologies. And finally, you have the Psyker, who honestly, if they're in your fire team, you're doing it wrong and you need to expel them immediately, lest the Emperor's fury fall upon you. In a nutshell, 2 of these classes are decent at range, the other 2 are decent in melee. The Zealot and the Ogren are very good in melee combat, very good at holding the line, while the Veteran Sharpshooter and the non-existent Psyker that isn't in your fire team can deal damage from afar. Each of these classes do feel distinct and are very fun in their own right. However, there really isn't much in the way of customization of skills, talents, etc., feats or whatever they call it in this game. I don't like saying feat, even if there's an EA instead of double E. Just doesn't sound right. Not into that. So I like saying talents. So if I say talents, I mean feat, because I don't like feat. This talent system is basically carried over wholly from Vermintide 2, and although it is very familiar, I would have wished for a little bit more diversity and variety in what you had available. In Vermintide 2, there are 5 characters to pick from, and each of them, barring Sienna, have a number of professions that they can switch to that really do mix up the gameplay and how they feel. In Darktide, however, you get 1 talent point to spend for every 5 levels up to level 30. You have a single profession for each class, which is where the whole Veteran Sharpshooter comes from, the Zealot Preacher. They will be adding more in the future, no doubt, but at the moment the game does feel a little bit repetitive and a little bit stale when it comes to the classes / characters that are available. Unlike in Vermintide, however, you do create your own character, so that does leave a little bit of space for you to actually add a little bit of creativity and your own mark on the world. With the introduction out of the way, let's talk a little bit about Darktide and why players are so angry with Fatshark and what they have done to make the players angry. A few weeks prior to release, Fatshark enabled players who had pre-ordered the game to gain access to their closed beta test. During this pre-order early access period, players noticed that even though the game was only a few weeks away from release, that it still performed incredibly poorly. From crashes to server kicks, there were so many issues that players just started to lose their patience with Fatshark. In Fatshark's defense, they rolled out many patches that resolved quite a few issues that people were having. Although, when the game officially released on the 30th of November, players noticed that many of the performance problems that were plaguing the game still remained. I have to say that at the moment the game runs perfectly fine for me most of the time. I still have some server kicks, I still have some crashes, but overall it is a lot better than it was during the closed beta access period. The main problem that the majority of the player base have currently with Fatshark is that many things that were promised, from weapons, gear, maps, missions, that were meant to make it into the full release just aren't there. And yet on the first day of release on the 30th of November, Fatshark implemented a cash shop, a premium store, where you could buy cosmetics that look far superior than anything you'd actually earn in-game via the penance system. The penance system is basically achievements, you complete difficult achievements, you get cool looking gear. But the problem was that you could buy gear that looked a lot better than anything you could actually earn. What made things worse is that the pricing for these cosmetics was incredibly egregious. If you purchased one of the more expensive packs of Akilas, you would expect you could buy maybe 2 outfits for 2 of your characters. But this isn't the case, because you'll always end up a couple of hundred Akilas short of another cosmetic pack. With much of the promised content absent, this display of greed showed players where Fatshark's priorities were. And to be honest, it makes sense. They're a company, they want to make more money, that's fine. They are cosmetics as well, most people think that's fine for the most part. I do as well, but in a free-to-play game. Darktide is not free-to-play. You're required to buy 1 of 2 packs to actually gain access to the game, the cheapest pack being £33. So all in all, I'm honestly quite confused as to why Fatshark thought it would be a good idea to release this store, knowing that players were annoyed that most of the content that was promised is still not in the game, as well as it's still being plagued by performance issues. In my opinion, I'm kind of mixed because the game honestly is a lot of fun. It has a lot of potential, just like Vermintide 2. The problem is, however, that it doesn't seem like Fat Shark have learned from their mistakes, and they are more interested in making a quick buck from the wheels that will inevitably go in and buy pretty much anything that is available in the store. The 40k fandom are very loyal, and they know what they like. They like 40k. The grim dark, brutality, space marines, imperial guardsmen, orcs, tyranids. They like that shit, and so do I. I'm a fan of 40k as well. And Fat Shark have done an amazing job of bringing 40k to life. I mean, I don't actually think there's any other game out there at the moment that brings 40k to life as much as Darktide does. Darktide is 100% grimdark, but not just in gameplay, also in, I suppose, the monetization. To end on a positive note, I do truly believe that Darktide is one of the best games of the year, and I honestly believe it'll probably be my best game of 2023. Inevitably, when Fat Shark iron out a lot of the problems, get most of the content in that is missing, add a few more classes, that type of thing, it'll be absolutely amazing. The soundtrack is my favourite soundtrack of the year. The sound design is phenomenal. The game looks great. Enemies and the AI perform great for the most part. The dogs are very janky and so are the chargers. But I love whenever you're going against the traitorous guardsmen, how they're trying to keep their distance from you. They want to engage you at range. And if you do get close up to them, they look startled, they're rushing for their bayonets. And that just seems cool to me. I like all the small details in this game. I love that when I hit a heretic with my bolt gun and I go over to the corpse, I can see exactly where I hit that heretic because there'll be a massive chunk of flesh missing. The game could do with more variety in the maps as well as missions available, but with time I'm confident that will change. Enemy design, like I said, is great. I like the specials as well as the number of elites you come across. Fat Shark are very, very good at designing enemies that you can notice from a distance via their silhouettes, and that is carried over to Darktide from Vermintide. So, that's it. Darktide is in a very, very messy position at the moment, but with time, I have no doubt Fat Shark will give us an impressive 40k entry. So, thank you all very much for watching, and I, of course, like always, will see you next time. Bye-bye.